Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Last lesson, we were reviewing how to plot points on a coordinate plane. And that's important because for the remainder of this unit, you're going to be using that coordinate plane to identify and graph linear equations. So today we're going to graph linear equations using a table. It's a real simple method for the basic linear equation questions that we're going to encounter. So, what is a linear equation? It's an equation that you can graph. So when you graph it, it's going to be a straight line on a graph. Henceforth the name linear equation, a straight line. Now what that means is that for a linear equation, that line represents the solutions to that linear equation. I say solutions because you're going to have the ability to have more than one answer. Every point along this line would be a solution to that linear equation. So what does a linear equation look like? Well, in last unit, we were just looking at solving regular equations. Well, a linear equation is a little different. You're going to notice that there's not just one variable, but there's two. I have both an x and a y. So this linear equation is going to have values for both x and y that we are solving for. And the easy way to do that is to solve using a table. So when we're graphing a line, you must have 2 points to make a line. It makes sense. To connect the dots together, you must have 1 point, 2 points, and where they are, and when you connect them, that makes a line. Now, my suggestion is instead of 2 points, you always get 3 points. So that's what we're going to go with for this topic. You must graph 3 points to make our line. So, how do we use a table to graph it? Well, you can see I have a table set up here. It's an XY table. X represents the value I'm putting in for X. Y is going to represent the value that I get whenever I solve that after I put the X value in. So make my table. I'm going to pick 3 X values. I'm going to show you right now the 3 most common X values that I use. I always use 1, 0, and -1. Now you can change those. You don't have to use those. But those 3 X values will usually be the simplest in solving and graphing these linear equations. So what you would do is you would plug those X values into that linear equation, solve that linear equation, and you're going to be left with Y. And once you find out what the Y value is, you put it here. And so you'd have your first point, your X value, Y value, your first coordinate pair that you can graph. And you would do the same with these X values as well. So let's put that into action. Let's get our first example. We have Y equals -3x plus 3. So my first step is to create my table. So let's get my X, Y table. What X values did I say that we're going to use for this? I always choose 1, 0, and -1. So what we're going to do is start with this first one. I'm going to plug that 1 in for X in this equation. So that's going to give me Y equals -3, but instead of X, I'm putting that 1 in for X. So -3 times 1 plus 3. Or Y equals -3 times 1 is -3. -3 plus 3 is 0. So my Y value is 0. So now I have my first coordinate pair. My X value 1, my Y value 0. So we can plot that on the graph. 1 on the X, 0 on the Y. My first point is right there. Now let's do the same with the second one. When X equals 0. So Y equals -3. Well, instead of X, I put 0 plus 3. Y equals. So -3 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 3 is 3. So my second y value is 3. So now I'm ready to plot it. 0 on my x, I don't move anywhere. I don't move left or right. But then 3 on the y. So my next point is there. So let's get our third point. I don't know why I just did that. Let's get our third point. -1. So let's plug it in for x. Y equals -3. Well, instead of x, we're putting this -1. So -3 times 1 plus 3. Y equals, well, -3 times -1 is a positive 3. 3 plus 3 is 6. So now I'm ready to plot my third point. -1 and then 6. And we can draw our line. Later on, it's going to be important that our lines are completely straight, so we will get rulers to draw our lines. But for right now, we can just freehand it through them. So right there is our line solving that linear equation. That line represents the solution to that. So let's do one more example. Y equals -2x minus 3. What's our first thing to do? Create our table. X, Y. Pick 3 values. I'm going to go ahead and pick those same 3 values. I'll see if they work well. And now we're ready to plug them in. Start with the first one, 1. So -2 instead of x, I put 1 for my x value, minus 3. -2 times 1 is -2. -2 minus 3 gives me -5. So my first point on here is 1, -5. All right, second one, x value of 0. Y equals -2 instead of x, plug that 0 in, minus 3. -2 times 0 is 0. 0 minus 3 is -3. So let's plot that point. 0, -3. Last one, -1. Y equals -2. Instead of x, put that -1 in, minus 3. -2 times -1 is a positive 2. 2 minus 3 gives us -1. So -1, -1, and there's our line solving this linear equation. One more example? Okay. So make your graph, your XY table, I mean. Pick your 3 x values. Again, I'm just going to pick 1, 0, and -1. What happens if you pick bigger values is you might not have enough room on your table to solve it. If I picked 10 as my value, well, I may end up with a number up here I'm plotting where y equals 16. And that's really difficult on these graphs. So I picked the small numbers, 1, 0, and -1. So first one, y equals 2x. So instead of x, I'm multiplying that by the 1, minus 4. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 minus 4 is -2. So 1, -2. Remember, we're always doing the x-axis first, y-axis second. Next one, 0. So y equals 2 times 0 minus 4. 2 times 0 is 0. 0 minus 4 is -4. So let's plot 0, -4. Last one. Y equals 2 times -1 minus 4. 2 times -1 is -2. -2 minus 4 is -6. So there's our last ordered pair. -1, -6. And there's our line. Now you can tell whenever you plot these whether you've done this part correctly, because they are in a line. If you get one that's not in a line, it's mean you probably didn't do or solve the equation correctly. Now there's two special cases that I want us to go through that you're going to encounter. And it's graphing horizontal lines and vertical lines. You will occasionally see problems that just say y equals a number or x equals a number. That means you only have one variable in that linear equation. And in this, there's going to be multiple solutions to that. So if you see y equals 4, what that means is that you are going to be going through the y-axis at the number 4. So here's 4 on the y-axis. So your line is going to be a horizontal line through 4 on the y-axis. So if y equals a number, it's a horizontal line going through the y-axis. Well, similar for ones that say x equals a number. X equals -4. So x is going to be a vertical. If x equals, it's going to be a vertical line going through the x-axis. So x equals -4. There's -4 on the x-axis. And my line's going to go through -4 on the x-axis. All right, at this point, that takes us to the end of this lesson. Go ahead and complete your homework, check in Google Classroom. If you have any questions about it and how to do it, you can always refer back to this video. If you still have questions, please reach out to me. We'll see you next time.